Hey, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to another video. It's Anish. I'm joined with Roman, and today we're going to be doing something new, and we're going to be recording like a Texans type podcast. There's no name for it yet, but that's in the works, of course. But we're going to be talking about various topics. We're going to be talking about the draft order, Nick Caserio, David Culley, potential head coach candidates if he is fired, and Davis Mills. So stay tuned for those topics, and we're going to have a lot of fun. We're just going to have a casual conversation about the Texans. And hopefully, let us know in the comment section below if you like this type of content, if you want to see more of it. And we're going to try doing it for other sports like the Rockets. And we'll see about the Astros. But let's go ahead and talk about the draft order. So, as y'all know, the game versus the Jags had huge draft order complications. Implications, sorry, and because of that, since we did win against the Jags, we currently have the third best draft pick in the NFL draft. So the Jags have the number one pick once again, and then the Lions have the second pick, and then the Texans have the third pick, and the Jets have the fourth pick. So very interesting to say the least, and it's kind of crazy that the Jags have the first pick once again. It should be illegal, honestly, to avoid tanking this to that extent. But what are your thoughts on like the whole, how we lost that game. I mean, sorry, not lost. How we beat the Jags, and just like the whole draft situation, how it is going forward.
Yeah, going through the game, this was a pretty fun game overall. You got to see Davis Mills. He played a very solid game. But throughout the game, personally, through the game, I was pretty disappointed that we didn't lose, and that's kind of surprising. Like, you want to lose, you want your favorite team to lose. But in this situation, at the time, I did. Like, you want the number one pick. Like, you want to be able to get the what is thought to be the best player in the NFL draft. But then when I came to thinking about it, having a number three pick, or maybe we advance to number two through the end of the season. But as we stand right now, number three, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like Kayvon Thibodeau and Aiden Hutchinson, they're probably going to be 1 and 2. There's always a chance Evan Neal could go 2 to the Jaguars or 1 to the Jaguars. But being number three, it's not bad. Like you have a bunch of different options there. If Evan Neal falls there, you can either go Evan Neal, or if one of the ends fall there, you could go one of them. Or if somebody wants to trade up for a guy like maybe Kenny Pickett, maybe his draft stock raises throughout the combine until from now to the draft, or maybe Matt Corral's draft stock improves. You just don't know what's going to happen from now on to the draft. Like around this time last year, not many people were talking about Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson, as we know, he had an insane increase in his draft stock, and he ended up being like a top 5 pick. I think it was like number 3, number 2, somewhere around there. So yeah, you don't know what could happen with any quarterbacks. But as we stand right now, and in the Jazz game, as I said, I was kind of disappointed, but now coming to terms with it, I'm pretty happy. I don't.
Yeah, I think it's not the end of the world, obviously, and I'm sure Nick Caserio, he's absolutely a magician. Like I don't know if y'all have seen clips. We have posted some clips on Twitter account. Follow us at Clutch City ENTX, but we posted like some clips of Nick Caserio kind of like moving up, down, left and right, all through the NFL draft, and we did see that in the past draft where he traded up for Nico Collins and traded away the seventh. I'm sorry, the sixth to move up or something like that, and get Wallow or something around those lines. So Nick Caserio is not afraid to make draft day trades, and so it will be interesting to see how we do with this very very important draft, probably the most important draft in Texans history. I feel like because of what like everything surrounding it. And a lot of people are saying maybe go Kyle Hamilton if we can't trade down, or Derek Stingley. So yeah, there's a lot of opinions on what should happen. A lot of people think that the Jags still go Evan Neal regardless because Trevor Lawrence does need that protection. But do you pass up on like a not, I don't know, generational could be a very controversial term, but a generational talent in Hutchinson or Thibodeau who look very very promising. So um it's very interesting to see what will happen, but it seems like the Texans will, if they do lose out, the Texans will get a top three pick because the Jets and the Jags do play against each other head to head. So we'll see about that. But let's talk about like what the potential destinations for Deshaun Watson would be, because getting draft picks would probably be the biggest the main piece of that trade. So hopefully the what Nick Caserio gets is at least three firsts. I think that's what has been reported over the past months. So we'll see about that. But Roman, what are some draft like potential suitors for Deshaun Watson, and what do the picks look like for that?
So yeah, like around maybe like 3 or 4 months ago, beginning of the season, and then even all the way up to the trade deadline, it was Miami. Like everybody thought it was gonna be Miami. Everybody thought he was gonna be gone by the trade deadline, and that didn't happen. And Tua has led the Dolphins to a what was it? I think it's like a 6, 7 game
Yeah,
win streak,
six
somewhere
game.
around those
Yeah, so,
lines.
yeah. They started 1-7, and now they're 7-7.
Yeah, that's insane. And most of it was because of Tua Tagovailoa. And I doubt Miami's going to want to let go of him or maybe even trade 3 first for Deshaun Watson. I see them just wanting to use those first, build around Tua. So I think Miami, honestly, I think they're out of it. And it's been pretty obvious since they've gone on a 6-game win streak. But some teams I think that will be interested and probably will field offers to the Texans are teams like maybe Philadelphia. I know Jalen Hurts, he's had a okay season, some ups, some downs. Um, but I don't think he's just good enough to be a franchise quarterback. Like he can be a guy that you build around and have a perfect situation. He'll be able to win games, but he's not a guy that you can like say, "Hey, go out there, win this game for me on the last drive of the game" or something like that. So I can see Philadelphia possibly being in there. The New York Giants, of course, you're gonna have a new GM this upcoming season, so it's gonna be interesting. Maybe he says, "Hey, let's go out there, get our franchise quarterback." Daniel Jones, he's not it. Um, I'm pretty sure he's out for the season with a neck injury, and how neck injury doesn't linger on until the off season, until next season. Nobody really knows. So New York Giants are possible destination. Obviously, Carolina, they need a quarterback desperately. Cam Newton, he's not been what Carolina fans have expected since they signed him. And then some dark horses, maybe the Broncos, possibly. I'm pretty sure they'd be all in on Aaron Rodgers, but maybe if they don't end up getting him, maybe they go for Deshaun, or maybe even Atlanta. I think it's unlikely Atlanta will go for him. Matt Ryan's been pretty solid, but their offense has been very lackluster this season. Like, it's been terrible. They've barely been able to score points, barely able to drive the ball down the field. And who's the guy better to change that than Deshaun Watson? So yeah, those are just some teams that I think could be in the race, or at least field some calls or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been saying this before, but like Nick Casario made a great choice in holding on Deshaun Watson after the trade deadline because there's so many more teams that are very quarterback needy, and we do know that teams can trade up to like 3 years into the future and then 4 years into the future on draft day. So that's some pleasant news for us. But I think New York Giants just makes too much sense for at least for both sides at least. Like you said, Daniel Jones, and now they're having to rotate between Mike Glennon and then Jake Fromm, who had a decent game, I believe. But but yeah, I don't think those guys are the answers for the Giants, and they do have like I believe two top 10 picks this year, so very enticing for us. I mean, those like even though like a first is not a first, and like when I say that, if it's a top 10 pick like that, that's like worth two firsts in my opinion. Like so those picks are very valuable, and it makes sense for Deshaun's side. Obviously, New York is a great place to grow his market or whatnot. I don't know what kind of business ventures he wants to do, but I believe we posted a mock draft on our Twitter account. Do you mind reading it out, like a potential mock draft that we've done on the Twitter?
Yeah. So I believe at number what do we have number 3. I believe Kayvon Thibodeau fell to us. Let me pull up the exact thing real quick. So
Yeah.
it was. Let's see. Yeah, it was Kayvon at number 3, and at number 6 it was Evan Neal. Um, yeah, number 3 Kayvon Thibodeau. Number 5 Evan Neal. Number 6 Andrew Booth, cornerback. At 33 it was Devin Lloyd, linebacker out of Utah. Very good linebacker. I don't think he falls to 33. His stock is likely going to increase after the combine. He's a very freakishly athletic linebacker. But at 37, Darian Kennard, interior offensive lineman. He can play guard. He can play center. He's pretty much interchangeable. He can do many different things with him. And then at 67, De'Aaron Kendrick, cornerback. At number 70, Brees Hall. 72 from Alabama. And then 77, Jeremy Ruckert. So if we were to do a draft like that, or at least similar around those lines, our team would be beyond better than what it is right now. You get a franchise edge. You fix up your offensive line pretty much. You get two cornerbacks, a couple linebackers, and a second tight end behind Brevin Jordan. And if you are to retain Pharaoh Brown or someone around there, and then of course you get that running back to run behind that newly improved offensive line in Brees Hall.
Yeah, to me, I feel like that's the dream draft. Like we address so many needs in that mock draft. Obviously, it's a very idealistic viewpoint of what's gonna happen. So who knows what happens? I don't know if the Giants are that desperate. Maybe they'll hold on to Daniel Jones for another year, but I don't know because the New York media is very harsh from what I've heard. So they have very little patience on like, and they expect to win sooner rather than later. So that whole situation, who knows what happens? Obviously, Deshaun Watson has to change his trade clause to say like, okay, this is a destination that I don't mind going to. And I believe I don't know if you mentioned this, Carolina is definitely another team who could be interested because they were very aggressive pre-trade deadline, and then they're like, okay, we'll just hold on to Sam Darnold, who's currently benched behind Cam Newton, and then they're rotating between Cam Newton and PJ Walker, and that situation has been very, very crazy for them. And Christian McCaffrey, who knows if they move on from him because he's been very injury prone lately. So maybe they try to make a dynamic duo with Deshaun and Christian McCaffrey, and then they have DJ Moore, which would make their offense really, really explosive. So I don't know if the Panthers would go for that, and we know that they have interest in him. Um, so that's potentially a team, but so yeah, I don't know what their picks, the draft position is for Carolina, but that could be another team. But yeah, any other thoughts on trade destinations or?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's been some, not necessarily rumors, but some, I guess, thoughts that possibly San Francisco. I know it's very unlikely, but there's just been some things thrown around on Twitter and on different Texans YouTubers. But someone was saying maybe they trade Trey Lance and some other picks, which I'm not really too fond a potential franchise quarterback back. But then at the same time, you already have Davis Mills who could maybe be something. And then also the picks you're gonna get, they're not gonna be really that good. I don't think they have any first over the next 2 years. And seconds, I'm not really too sure how many seconds they have or not. But just as a whole, 49ers don't really make sense. Maybe the
Mhm.
Raiders. I doubt they'd want to move on from David or Derek Carr, but I think that's pretty much it. New York,
Mhm.
Philly, maybe Denver, possibly Atlanta, and then Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the 49ers definitely doesn't make sense for many reasons. And, like, they already traded for what they believe is their franchise guy, like, multiple firsts to move up to number three, I believe, or something around that. So I really doubt they'd go move away from Trey Lance, especially when he hasn't even played, like, a full season or a decent sample size for them. So, anyways, enough about Deshaun Watson. Hopefully, that all gets resolved by late January, as reported. But let's talk about Nick Caserio, who has has had a very good draft this past draft. Obviously, drafting Davis Mills, who looks to be one of the better quarterbacks this season, surprisingly, in a class of Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones. He looks to be one of the better quarterbacks this season, and he's a third round pick. Obviously, Nico Collins, who's very promising, who I believe is going to break out next season for sure. And then Brevin Jordan, Roy Lopez, and Garrett Wallow. All of those guys are very solid foundational pieces on this team. Garrett Wallow had a sack in the Jags game and multiple tackles. He was all over the field. So giving these guys playing time, which is very important. And I don't understand why Brevin Jordan got zero snaps in the Jags game, and I don't know why Pharaoh Brown or Jordan Akins are playing over him because I honestly believe Brevin Jordan is better than those two. He's a red zone threat, and he's been very, very productive for us. So. But yeah, Nick Caserio has done a phenomenal job. So what do you think about the draft class that we had?
Yeah, it's very, very, pretty much excellent. Like, I don't really see him missing on any of these. As you said, Davis Mills looks like he's gonna most definitely be at least something. Maybe not necessarily a franchise guy, but he's gonna be something. Nico Collins, as you were saying, I also agree he's gonna have a very good season next year and probably break out. He's a mixture of, obviously he's not gonna be, or he's likely not gonna be as good as Andre Johnson or DeAndre Hopkins, but he's like a mixture of those two. Similar height. I mean, in comparison to Andre Johnson, similar height, similar weight, similar size, and he runs like him in a way. So if Nico Collins can continue to progress, go through what he needs to do, he's gonna be one of the better wide receivers probably in the NFL. I could really see it. And then of course Brevin Jordan, very good red zone target. At one point he was projected to go in the second round and as a second best tight end. And I believe he was the number one tight end nationally recruited in what year was it? I think 2018, somewhere around there, 2019.
Yeah.
But he was the number one tight end in the nation at that time. So obviously he's got to be good, and he's been showing it this season. What does he have? 3 touchdowns, I think.
Hmm.
He's been phenomenal. And Garrett Waller this past game against the Jaguars, as you were saying, he had a sack. He had, I think, 10 total tackles, and then he had a tackle for loss.
Hmm.
So Garrett Waller, and then this past game, the game before the Jaguars, who was it? Who did we play? Seattle, I think. Against Seattle, he also had a very good tackle for loss, in which stopped Seattle on a fourth down and goal. So Garrett Waller, these past 2 games, he's really been breaking out before our eyes. And for him to be, what was he, fifth round pick?
Yeah.
He's been very, very excellent for us. Amazing scenario as it looks so far. And then Roy Lopez, we all know how good of a player Roy Lopez is. He's held his own to be a rookie. He's been plugging up that hole, stopping the run, doing all of that. So excellent draft in my eyes by Nick Caserio.
Yeah, I think Roy Lopez has been one of like not among rookies, but among the whole NFL. He's been a top like run defender. And he's done held his own. He has like I believe he had like a spin move kind of variation, for like a tackle for loss or something like that. So and like you saw it from the tape, like Roy Lopez was a monster. I don't even know how he fell to the sixth round, I believe, or something like that. Like so very low draft like stock, but I don't know how he fell that far, but he's absolutely amazing. His fundamentals are very, very solid. And he's only going to go up from here. It's very strong too. If he bull rushes a opposing team, so Roy Lopez has been a fan favorite, and it's very easy to see why he has. But let's talk about some recent news and some debate that has happened on Twitter, in which David Culley and like kind of revealed that Nick Caserio and Romeo Crennel told him to go allow New England to score in that Patriots game to kind of give the offense more time to score back. But David Culley said he didn't recognize that situation, and he didn't understand what to do, so he didn't kind of like listen to Nick Caserio. And a lot of people are saying that, oh, what kind of general manager tells the head coach what to do? I mean, that's the role of the head coach. Why is he intervening in those kinds of things? But I feel like a lot of people are forgetting the fact that Nick Caserio did this very successfully in New England, and Nick Caserio used to be a coach, a wide receivers coach. So Nick Caserio is a very like a student of the game, for lack of a better phrase. But Nick Caserio is very talented. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are forgetting that, and so to me, I see no issue with it, and I would honestly trust Nick Caserio to coach this team better than Cully from what we've seen. But what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, I honestly see no problem whatsoever with it. Like, if people are complaining about it, then they're just complaining just to complain. Like, there's no problem with it. As you said, Nick Caserio has been doing it since New England, and since his early days in New, or early years in New England. And Bill Belichick, he's denied 2 interview requests from Nick Caserio for a reason. When Nick Caserio was back in New England, I believe Houston was one of the teams, and then I'm not really too sure who the other team was, but he denied 2 interview requests for a reason because he wants to keep him around. He's a very smart guy in personnel and obviously GMing and in game situations. He's a guy who can do it all. Like, he's what I guess we kind of wanted Bill O'Brien to be in a way. Like, we wanted Bill O'Brien to have like obviously personnel control, coaching responsibilities and all of that. And he really wasn't it. Like he wasn't able to do it all. As we saw, he's done some pretty questionable things in the GM spot. But Nick Caserio, I mean, so far in my eyes, he's been a more than great GM. Excellent draft last season. Pretty good free agent signings for what we really had, for the money we had, and the situation. And David Culley, I just don't really trust him in situations like that. And especially in that situation, that was very smart by Nick Caserio. Yes, let the Patriots score. They've been driving on the defense pretty much the whole fourth quarter, part of the third quarter. Why not let them score so you can still have, I believe it was like a minute, 30 seconds left, somewhere around there. So yes, why not let them score? They're on the 10-yard line. They're most likely gonna score. So just let them score, let the offense have a chance, go back on the field, either tie it up or win it with the offense. But yeah, I don't see any problem with it. It's just people are gonna complain just to complain.
Yeah, Nick Casario is a very hands-on general manager. Like he's out there on the practice field, like even like calling plays or whatnot, or like even like snapping the ball, or like he's doing everything. Like I don't know how this man does it, how he gets any sleep, but he's like working so hard, and it's crazy that a lot of people are misconstruing it as something bad because we know that Nick Casario is very capable of this. So and like yeah, like free agent signs, like you said, it was like kind of like a he threw a big fish net trying to catch like trying to get as much talent as possible with like you said the cap space that we had, and we kind of like try to find the diamonds in that fish net or the fish worth catching in a sense. Like who should we resign? And I feel like there's like the obvious names are Camu. Hopefully his injury isn't too I believe it's just like an ankle sprain or something. Malik Collins, very good player. Could be a good rotational guy. Desmond King, very good. And we already talked about Tarvier Thomas, who we signed to a 2-year deal. Who has been like a top cornerback in this league. Like there is a play on like floating around social media during the Rams game where he like shed. He was like getting blocked by Cooper Cup, but he shed that block and then he made a tackle on the running back. And so plays like those are the guys we need in this locker room, and he's a very good locker room guy. We have a video on solely on Javier Thomas if you want to hear more about that. So guys like that, like very good signings. Hopefully we keep those guys that I mentioned. And there are very important free agency decisions that he'll have to make. Most notably, whether or not we should re-sign Justin Reed. Do you have any thoughts about that? Whether or not we should re-sign Reed?
Personally, I think I would resign Reed depending on how much he wants. Like, if he wants to get paid like a top safety, then nah, he's gonna have to walk. But I don't think he would want too big of a bag. But I don't think he resigns here. Like in the end of it, I don't think Nick really sees it as a mutual fit. Like, of course, he's a good player. He's a decent scheme fit. But do we really want to pay him right now? Like, we're trying to regain cap. Of course, we're gonna trade Deshaun. Possibly trade Tunsil. So we're gonna get a bunch of cap back. Would we really want to not waste it? He would be worth it, but like I just don't really seeing it being a fit. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just don't really see it.
Yeah, like I hate to say this, but I think Justin Reed peaked his rookie season almost because this season we see him getting missed tackles, and obviously there is like he has some injury history, like considerable injury history, multiple surgeries, like a hand surgery, and like after like a big play, he's on the ground for a while. So that is definitely a question, like probably one of the reasons why. For I'm not saying he's Will Fuller, like kind of glass bones or not, but that's like one of the reasons why we decided to not re-sign Fuller. Was because of that injury history, and it kind of showed this season where he only played like what 2 games, like he had 2 catches for 46 yards, and that was the end of his season. So like that shows that was a good move by Caserio by not deciding not to re-sign Reed. And a lot of fans believe that Reed should be gone, but it's kind of like the situation of like you're stuck with what you I don't know how to say it, but like you're stuck with who you have, so you're kind of like forced to give him a bag. But like you said, I don't think Reed would ask too much, just considering his production. But we'll see. And we all know that incident that he had with the coaching staff, in which Culley suspended him for no reason whatsoever, just for like disagreeing with the coaching staff. Like I feel that is very immature of Culley, because if you can't handle like like a simple disagreement, That like I don't know what rule you have in place because he's like oh yeah we have rules in place at the beginning of the season and they violated that rule like yeah I get that like with Cunningham where he didn't attend team meetings and he didn't get COVID testing yeah that makes sense for why you suspended him but like Justin Reed who is a great locker room guy and who just simply had a difference of opinion, that doesn't deserve a suspension whatsoever. Like, if you're a coach, you should be at least humble enough to like kind of take that suggestion and see if that one makes sense or not. But yeah, that's my thought on that. So I don't know if Reed feels any type of way about that. Maybe we'll see if we do fire Culley. Maybe he's waiting on that. But yeah, that's just that event that happened. I was like so shocked when like Reed was listed out.
Yeah, that was just pure. I don't know what happened exactly. Like people say, oh, it was because of a dispute, but I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Like you're gonna suspend, as you said, probably one of the best locker room guys, if not the best locker room guy, and then probably your best player on defense, or if not the best, at least top two, which doesn't make sense. Like how are you gonna do that to as the best player on or the best player on defense? Like I don't know. But that's another reason why I believe
Yeah.
David Cutler should be gone. Like as you said, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's kind of childish if you ask me. Like
Yeah.
this is your first year coaching in the NFL, and you're gonna suspend a well-respected guy not only on the Texans but around the whole NFL. A bunch of NFL
Like
players
he's our
speak
Walter
very highly.
yeah, he's our Walter
Yeah,
Payton nominee.
that don't
Like
make sense.
no, yeah, and then like another reason is like if we do decide to re-sign Reed, like he hasn't had a good safety duo like in since being a Texan. So if we do have number three and we can trade back, getting Kyle was it Hamilton?
Kyle Hamilton.
Kyle
Yeah.
Hamilton within the backfield. Maybe that might help Reed's play a bit more so he's not like kind of spreading himself out too thin in that way and then we'll see how Reed plays from there. In that way I feel like I wouldn't be mad at it because Kyle Hamilton is a very nice safety prospect. So if that was the case I wouldn't be too mad at it because Reed is a like a decent player at least. A guy who is probably one of our better guys on the team. But to me, I don't know if I would re-sign him, but that's I guess that's for another story. But yeah, let's just talk about like Culley. I know we've been like kind of mentioning Culley, but I mean, like the fact we signed him to a 5 year deal, but he might not even make 1 year, because there's reasons for the Texans to fire him as soon as possible because there's like league owners passed a rule like I believe in the last 2 weeks for teams can interview candidates for a vacant head coach position. So that was something that was changed. I believe they had to wait at the end of the year or like when they were in the playoffs to do so. So now they can interview candidates earlier. So maybe that might be something that could entice Nick Caserio. But David Culley, he's done a lot of coaching mismanagement. He just like most notably he on like fourth down, he's like, okay, let's go for it, and then he waits and he's like, okay, timeout, and then he just sends out the punting unit, and then so it's just like wasting timeouts and just like obviously he's not in charge of the play calling, but at least like he did say that he would have some input in it. And looking at her like teams like offense in particular, it's like the worst in the league. So I mean, David Culley, he should like obviously we don't have necessarily the personnel to merit something better, but just watching this team play on offense is just really hard to watch sometimes. Like obviously the Jags game, we did good that game, but it's the Jags. They're 2 over 3 wins come against the Jags. So, and that's not saying too much because the Jags are not in much better shape as we are. So, David Culley, he's made coaching mismanagement and like player mismanagement with the suspensions, and he just simply doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing, despite having 27 years of coaching in the league. Like I don't know what he's doing on the sidelines. Like is he eating popcorn, or like what is he doing? Like, and like the fact that like when we did hire him, like when he was like a coordinator, at least like in the 2014 for the Chiefs wide receiver coordinator, they had 0 touchdowns. So I don't know. And then the Ravens wide receiver coach, and they didn't have a great year. So it's just I know it almost makes you feel bad for Cully because he entered in a really bad situation and he seems like the fall guy, and but a lot of people see him as a stopgap coach. So I mean, what are your feelings about Cully? Should we fire him? this season. But yeah, what do you think?
Oh yeah, honestly, if it were up to me, he would most definitely be gone. There was a report, I believe, by Jason LaConfora on this previous Sunday before the Jags game that he's probably very likely going to be a one and done type of coach in Houston. They're already not necessarily. You obviously can't talk to candidates right now, but they're pretty much already pursuing. I'm not sure that's the right word, or if that's the word that LaConfora used, but
Mhm.
pretty much that Culley is pretty much going to be one and done. But yeah, as I've been saying, he just is he eating popcorn on the sideline? Is he sleeping? What is he doing exactly? Like you could probably Nick Caserio could probably put either you or me out there at head coach, and we could do the same, if not better, than David Culley. Like I'm not sure why he's there, just for the culture. And if the culture is what it is right now, benching your best player on defense, then what type of culture are you necessarily or really building? Like David Culley, he's not the reason I think they gave him a 5 year contract is to really just sell him on the job. Like
Mhm.
I think Nick Caserio knew he wasn't going to be here all 5 years. Max probably like max three, probably two. But as it's shown right now, is very well likely going to be one. But he just gave him 5 years just to sell him on the job. I don't think he would have taken it if it was like a 2 year deal or something like that. But yeah, David Culley has to be gone after this year. There's no reason to keep him around. Culture wise, he does nothing. On the field, he does nothing. I guess maybe connection to players, like we've seen in training camp, last training camp, where he was really hyping up different players. He was
Mm.
kind of like congratulating them. And then against the Panthers game on Thursday Night Football, we all saw that viral clip of him congratulating Davis Mills and grabbing his neck and kind of like choking him out in a way. But yeah, that's pretty much all he's there for, I guess, to choke people. But yeah.
No, I mean, like, I mean, as far as the culture wise, like, I don't know if I think Cameron Kruger Hill says something like this locker room is, not what the media says or like that. It's very positive, it's very good. So like, I guess culture wise is not that bad. And like the players still respect Cully in some way, but other than that, it's just not that good. Like I said. So yeah, and when you said like we gave him a 5 year contract to sell him on the job, like this job was probably very hard to even like hire a head coach, just given everything around the situation, like the Deshaun situation, like allegations and him not wanting to play anymore, the PR nightmare of Jack Easterby, and just like the organizational wise, like we just looked very, very incompetent. So it looked pretty hard, but I feel like for David Culley, it wasn't that hard of a choice considering he had like a promotion from like offensive coordinator to head coach. Like, sorry, not even offensive coordinator, from a positional coach to head coach. Like he made that huge leap. So I feel like it wasn't too hard for Culley to make that decision. He probably thinking like, oh, I'll probably never get this chance ever. So he probably took that choice. So you can't really blame him for chasing the bag, I guess. But yeah, Cully got to go, and let's just talk about like potential like head coach candidates that we could get. Like, who do you have in mind in particular?
Personally, I'm very fond of Joe Brady. I know a lot of people aren't because of his I guess down year with Carolina this year. But let's not forget last season. He made Teddy Bridgewater, as we know, he's not the best, he's not the worst quarterback. He's not the best thrower of the football, but if put in the right situation, he could make some things. But last season, he made Teddy Bridgewater look like a borderline top 10 quarterback. Sure, you could say, oh, he had DJ Moore. He had Mike Davis playing like a top 10 running back. You had Robbie Anderson, but he made them look like a very explosive, dynamic offense. And as I said, Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, who's not the best thrower of the football, and he was able to mesh up different schemes. The Yankee concept, he did that very well with Robbie Anderson going on one what's that route called? I think a crossing route, Robbie doing one crossing route, and then DJ Moore doing one crossing route, and then pretty much just hitting whoever's open. Like he did a very good job of scheming plays for certain players, and that's something that we need here. Like this season, as it looks, like we're just running around out there on offense, like planning on the fly. Like we don't know exactly what we're doing. We don't know exactly who the ball's going to go to. Most of the time, is Brandon Cooks, of course. He's our best
Yeah.
offensive weapon. But if we can make some plays specifically for guys like Nico Collins, like jump balls into the end zone, jump balls for first downs, out route on first downs, or Brandon Cooks, get him some more underneath routes, get him some more jet sweeps, different things like that. Like we need a coach who's gonna who's gonna put that in the game plan for the next game. But yeah, Joe Reddy's one of my guys. Clint Kubiak from where is it? From Minnesota, the offense coordinator,
Yeah.
Clint Kubiak, Gary Kubiak's son. I'm very fond of him as well. His zone run scheme, with of course Dalvin Cook, very very nice, and he's also very young. He's 34, and that's the type of head coach we need. We need a young one who's going to be able to match the players' energy. Who's going to connect with the players. Like that would be more than something to dream of. Like a guy who's going to be best friends with your players, but then at the same time be a very good coach. Like that's rare nowadays in the NFL. Like not a Sean Payton, um, Sean McVay in
Yeah.
LA. Like we've seen viral clips of him. I believe this past week it was with
Van
Van
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that viral clip. He congratulated him, told him how much he appreciated him, and it's just all of that. That's the type of coach we need.
Hmm.
But yeah, those are just two of my guys that I would personally like to hire.
Yeah, I definitely agree with your choices of Brady and Clint Kubiak. Like we all know that our offense is very anemic when it's out there. Like our run game, like we're not even breaking 50 yards at most games, and Rex Burkhead and David Johnson are not the future. So you definitely know that our running back is a huge need, and our running game is a huge area of improvement. Some other names floating around are like Byron Leftwich, offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Some of you were saying Norv Turner, who's with the Washington football team. What are some other names? Eberflus is another name who we did interview last season. So yeah, any other names? Did I miss any other names that
I think
people?
you said Leftwich.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I guess you could throw in Eric Bieniemy. I doubt it happens, but I guess you can
No.
just throw him in. Um,
Yeah.
Todd Bowles, very unlikely, but I guess a possible candidate. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I
Some
guess at least for
some
the top league.
some people are saying maybe Jim Caldwell, who didn't have like I feel like a lot of people saying the Lions did him dirty, and like he did have a lot of winning seasons with the Lions. He had like 3 out of 4, or like he was like only there for 4 years or something like that, right? And he's like had like out of those seasons he had like 3 winning seasons or something. I feel like
Yeah,
he
something
did like
like
pretty good, but they're like they fired him because he was like mediocre, and now they're like absolutely terrible for like the past as long as I could remember, honestly. So people are saying that. Some people are even saying promoting Lovey Smith to head coach, which could be pretty interesting. Lovey Smith is a pretty lovable guy, no pun intended. But yeah, I think it's pretty. It's going to be pretty interesting on who we end up in the head coaching cycle. And yeah, so finally, let's end off with talking about Davis Mills, who has looked, like I said earlier, one of the better quarterbacks this season. You can like see it in the matchup against Trevor Lawrence. He is outplaying Trevor Lawrence. This season, Davis Mills this season had 8 starts, 9 pass touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Trevor Lawrence 14 starts, 9 pass touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Obviously, these are very very basic stats, but considering situation wise, I think Trevor Lawrence has a better situation around him. Obviously, he had like being coached by Urban Meyer, who was absolutely terrible. I mean, that dude did not last very long in the NFL. He did like everything that could go wrong went wrong for him, and that's probably his fault. And so he had to deal with that. But I think Trevor Lawrence has a slightly better situation than Davis Mills and has been putting up worse stats than him. And not only Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields is looking. He's being coached by Matt Nagy, but I think Justin Fields will end up being a good quarterback. But right now, being coached by Nagy, who's absolutely terrible as well. He's not having a great season. Zach Wilson put up some flashes, but not too good. And some people thought that Mike White was going to replace him at one point. So that just tells you something. And who else? Mac Jones obviously has been the like a offensive rookie of the year candidate, but hasn't done like too many amazing plays. Jamar Chase is probably going to run away with that award. But Mac Jones has been all right, but in the head-to-head matchup against Davis Mills, I believe, outperformed him as well. So Davis Mills, he hasn't been the perfect quarterback by any means. I'm not saying that, but he has had like a few games where he's pieced it together. There are times where Davis Mills has almost interceptions and the defender just drops the ball. So, um, by any means, Davis Mills is not the perfect quarterback. A lot of people are thinking, nah, he's not the quarterback of the future, but I believe he deserves a chance to play in the 2022 season to really showcase himself and see what a year like an off season under his belt will do for him. And with maybe like a new coaching staff, new weapons, improved O line, improved defense, who knows what Davis Mills can do next season? And maybe we'll have a better schedule, strength of schedule. So I don't know, but I think Davis Mills has shown at least enough to merit him playing the next season.
Yeah, I also believe he's pretty much gonna start next season unless something crazy happens. But yeah, he's been very good considering he's a third round rookie quarterback, and then put in the situation. Like the situation's probably one of the worst, if not the worst, situation in the NFL. This season he has 8 starts, 9 passing touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. To be a third round rookie that played, I think, 12 total college games and then rise to the NFL straight away, not even having a year to settle into the NFL, just starting pretty much after a couple games, few games. But yeah, it's been very good. Like he's exceeded everybody's expectations. And if you say no, you're lying to yourself. Like who expected Davis Mills to come in here and perform how he's performed? Sure, almost interceptions, or in that case, for sure interceptions, 8 interceptions a season. But that's not bad at all. Compared to Trevor Lawrence, 14 starts, 9 passing touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. He has 14 interceptions in 14 games, which is a perfect ratio. I guess you could say the same for Davis Mills, 8 starts, 8 interceptions. But then that's where it comes to touchdowns. Lawrence only has nine, and 9 in 14 games, and Mills has 9 in 8 games. So yeah, that's one thing that stands out to me. The number one pick in the NFL draft, the guy who was thought to be like the next Andrew Luck in a way in terms of potential, being the best prospect, and then 300-yard game so far this season. Davis Mills has 3, Trevor Lawrence has 2, Mac Jones has 2, Mike White has 1, and Justin Fields has 0, and then of course Zach Wilson has 0, and then Trey Lance, who really hasn't played much, so of course he has 0 as well. But yeah, as I've been saying, if you say he hasn't really impressed you, you're lying to yourself. Like, there's no way a rookie quarterback can come into this offense and play as well as he's played. But yeah.
I feel like if people are too harsh on Davis Mills and then quickly forget the fact that he was a third round rookie, and we've heard it at the like when he was drafted that some people were saying if he stayed in college and he stayed for another season that he would have been a first round talent, and it's looking like he would have like that's probably true. So Davis Mills, we'll see how he does. Like next season, like I said, with improved surrounding cast, and it's not just going to be for Davis Mills, for any rookie quarterback that's in behind the O line, like any quarterback that's behind that's playing quarterback for us, like they need a good situation to thrive. Like we saw that with the Chiefs, they had a great situation, and then they drafted Mahomes, and so that ended up very good for him for them. They won a Super Bowl. So like situation matters so much, and so that's why people are saying let's not draft a quarterback this upcoming season. Like unless a quarterback that the Texans really like falls way hard and then they land right in their laps, maybe they take him. But to compete with Davis Mills, and who knows if they do that, but a lot of people are saying don't draft quarterback, draft defense, O line, get weapons like running back, wide receiver, just do things like that. And I think we also mentioned like someone who could potentially compete with Davis Mills is Huntley, who's on the Ravens. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, Tyler Huntley, he's one of my guys, one of my favorite guys. If we were to target a quarterback, and I think he's a restricted free agent. So Baltimore, I think it means they could tender him for another year or place like a second round tender or something like that. But yeah, if we're able to get him, whether it's via trade, I wouldn't be opposed to trading maybe like a fifth. I doubt they would accept that. They'll probably want us to overpay like maybe a third. I don't think I would give up a third. It's not really worth it. I mean, of course, he could come in here, battle with Davis Mills during training camp, say, hey, both of you guys compete, and whoever's the better man, y'all get to start week 1. Y'all the quarterback 1. But yeah, Tyler Huntley's 23. I think he's gonna be 24 by the time next season starts. Um, yeah, still very young, and he's pretty much a clone of Lamar Jackson. I've seen some people say he's a better thrower of the football than Lamar Jackson, and in my eyes, I can honestly see it. Lamar, he's a good thrower, but at times he gets inconsistent. He gets too wild. He gets too he gets happy feet at times. Like his feet aren't always placed, and he'll miss an easy throw, but then the very next play he'll come out of nowhere and hit an amazing throw. Like he's just inconsistent. And Tyler Huntley, I guess you could say he's inconsistent as well, but he's just more. He impresses me more in terms of his arm talent. But yeah, I would most definitely want to bring in Tyler Huntley, especially if it's cheap. If you have to give up a fifth, I would do it. Or if they don't tender him, I would sign him for like maybe a 1 year, like a similar deal to Tyrone. Say 1 year, 6 million. If you start more than a certain number of games, you get the guaranteed 6 million. But at first, like 2 million guaranteed, something like that. But I would most definitely love to bring him in, and them two could also booster each other's game. Like say, hey, if you don't play good, Tyler's gonna overtake you, or tell Tyler
Yeah.
if you're not good, Mills gonna overtake you. Like you can have a full on competition. It'll boost their I don't know if it'll boost their confidence. It's gonna make them kind of scared, but like you know what I mean. Like it's gonna make them
Yeah.
want
Rise
to
to the
forgive.
occasion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So as you've seen, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made in this off season. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up our, you could say, podcast. Let us know, like I said, if you want to see more of these types of videos or podcasts. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.